So I wanted to talk a little bit about authenticity and what it means in terms of personality, in terms of you, and in terms of me. What does it look like to be authentic? What does it look like from the outside for someone looking at someone who is authentic? What does it feel like to be authentic? And it's not something that I don't think that many people would say we are quite an authentic society. I think a lot of people would say we are hiding behind all sorts of things, all sorts of defenses and fears and expressions that aren't totally ours, and a sense of not really being ourselves. And in order to get to the bottom of that, I think we need to go back in time. And there's a great video by Gabor Mate on YouTube about authenticity and attachment. So go and watch that if you can. It's really good. But what he says is that as human beings, we are hardwired for two things. We need an attachment figure because you are born, and we are hardwired to need someone to help us to survive. But we are also relational. So we need an emotional connection with somebody. Okay. We'll survive without an emotional connection, but not in the way that nature intended. And the second is authenticity. The ability to be wholly yourself. And that is difficult to do. And it's also a really, really hard space for people to hold for you. So if we think about the stresses of life in general, and this is not to judge parents or anything like that. I'm a parent, but there's a reality of life where, and some would say in modern life as it gets busier and busier, where life just creates this space that isn't conducive to relationship. And so I'll give you an example. So say your caregivers, whoever they are maybe stressed about finances, have just lost a job or been made redundant, or lost a family member, are suffering from depression or any other mental illness. They are then less capable of holding a space for you and for your pain and for your emotions, your authentic self. Okay, so an illustration of it, okay, it's probably maybe not the best illustration of it, but say I, as a child, run around the corner into the kitchen, stub my toe on the kitchen door, and I scream because it hurts, and I'm writhing around on the floor, and I'm like, I've never experienced pain like this before. Please comfort me, right? That's what my screaming is saying. And my caregiver turns around because they are stressed themselves, and they say, will you not scream so loud? I can't even think straight. You're not bleeding to death. Get up, go and be somewhere else. If you're going to scream like that, just go somewhere else. Because what they're saying is, I don't have the space right now to hold my pain as well as yours. Okay? And what message the child gets from that is my authentic reaction, which was, ow, that hurt, I need a hug, is not welcome. Right? Is not something that my caregiver is able to do for me. And so over time, I'm not saying it's a sudden thing or an overnight thing, but over time, the message that child gets is, I'm going to have to soothe myself. I'm going to have to find some other way of getting what I need. And so the next time you run into the kitchen, and well, I run into the kitchen and stub my toe, I go, ow, I'm just going to turn around and go and deal with my pain myself, because I don't want that feeling, that sense of rejection that I got last time from my caregiver, who was like, I can't do this right now. Okay, it's much easier for me to just pretend I'm fine, to put that mask on and say, it's all good, I'm strong, I can deal with it, it's fine, don't worry about it. Okay. Your experiences in life are going to shape the person that you are. So you start off as your authentic self, you start off as a baby, right? With that, you don't have any understanding of being authentic, you just are, right? And over time, you layer things because of the experiences that you have. You layer masks on, defenses, on top of defenses, on top of defenses, depending on your experiences and how you are able to cope with them and how people are able to cope with how you are coping with them. Okay. So what do we do about becoming more authentic? So I think what happens in when people talk about you know, the real you and find the real you and all that kind of stuff, they tend to talk in concepts of change. Okay, and I don't like the word change in this context. To me, if you're sitting here with your authentic self down here and the you that you are portraying to the world up here and all the layers in between, if you're saying, well, in order to be, or someone's saying, in order to be authentic, I have to change, to me, what that's saying is like, I have to go over here and be this person, okay, which is a different person, because the real me is over here. So in order to be the real me, I don't have to move and be someone different. I have to look down, okay? I have to look at myself and I have to ask myself and be more aware of the reactions that I have to things, the defenses that I've put in place, and be curious about it. If you walk into a room full of people and you suddenly have this like, ooh, nervousness, right? And it's not a excited nervousness, it's a threatened nervousness, right? If that is the case, then ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is it about this situation that is triggering me to feel unsafe? And what defense am I putting in place in order to make myself feel safe? All right. So it might be you whack a mask on, boom, and you suddenly become this life of the party, confident person, right? One of the telltale signs of that being a mask is that at the end of the evening, when you've just been sitting around and you've been chatting and you go home and you are absolutely shattered because the amount of energy it takes to keep that mask on in front of all those people is immense. So one of the difficulties with taking this journey, okay, is that it's not only difficult for you, it's also difficult for the people around you. So from their perspective, you will change. And sometimes those changes can be a surprise to people, right? Those changes can be a surprise to people. Sometimes they can be a threat to people. And most often, that reaction to you becoming more authentically you says more about them than it does about you. And what it may say is that your liberation, your feeling more authentically you, is starting to challenge me. And I'm finding that really uncomfortable. And so what we have to be careful of is that, say you have a partner, that's just as an example, you start to peel off the layers and your partner's like, whoa, you're changing. and you say, well, actually, I'm not changing. I'm covering the stuff that's already there that I've lost touch with. Okay. If that partner goes, this is making me really uncomfortable, and they may not say that in that many words, but it might be that you feel like they're withdrawing from you. The fear of losing that attachment of that partner or that best friend or that group of friends or that parent is so great sometimes that you enter back into the loop and you start going, well, if my authentic self is still not welcome or not welcome by this person either, all the defenses go back up and you kind of go, don't worry, I won't change, it's fine. And that person starts coming back because now you're a more comfortable person to be around. So that's the question that you've got to ask yourself. And it's not going to happen all the time, okay? Communication is key. If you are trying to be more authentic, if you're trying to find out who you are and be more aware of the layers that are there and trying to strip them out one by one and understand why they're there in the first place, so that when they do come back, and they will, if they do sort of start to slip back, you'll recognize them and kind of go, I know what that is. I don't need it. All right. But if that starts to threaten relationship, then you have to talk to the people who it's threatening. Keep them in the loop. Okay, there's nothing more scary for someone who they think they know and love suddenly changing. You can communicate to them parts of the journey that you're going on so that they don't just wake up one morning beside you and kind of go, I don't recognize who you are. Okay, that said, there may be some people in your life that you may lose. And that may be the price of being authentic. And that's something you've got to weigh up for yourself. And, I'll cover that in a video about boundaries, because there is something to be said about responsibility. Are you responsible for somebody else's reaction to your authentic self? So if we just come back to the authenticity that we're talking to at the beginning, I feel like went a bit out on a tangent with the relationship thing, but I do think that it's an important aspect of it, and I do think that communication is key as you go on this journey. But I just wanted to kind of bring it in a little bit back to the basics and say that it's an overwhelming question to ask yourself. It's like saying, well, let me walk for 500 miles. Well, this is going to sound really cliched. So how do you walk 500 miles? Okay, you start with a single step, and then you take another and another and another and another, and eventually you get to 500 miles. You can start with the simple stuff. Okay, and the way to start is to just be curious. Be curious about whether you are actually the authentic you. And if you are, great. And if you're not, why aren't you? What is it that is stopping you from being the authentic self? When you are in situations and you feel those masks, or you feel those defenses, or you're in an argument even, or someone says something that just triggers you and you kind of go, and you get angry, sit in the car afterwards or sit in the bedroom afterwards and kind of go, that's interesting. Why did I get so angry over that? It seemed like a really small thing. And that awareness, that questioning and that curiosity is the first step to uncovering the authentic you, because you are covered by defenses, and they are there for a reason. They were there to keep you safe. They were there to keep the attachment connected. and they were there to make sure that you survived. And it may be that you find a few dozen defenses in your arsenal that you don't need anymore, but you're still deploying them. And it's just bit by bit by bit by bit. It happened drip by drip by drip by drip, and undoing it is the same kind of pattern. So don't be overwhelmed by it. In fact, enjoy it and make use of the support systems that you have in place around you, be it family or friends. Yeah, it's a worthwhile journey.